Getting up from Helen's bed, she handed me a new contract. Engaged, and you're still my chief assistant. I hesitated, looking at her beautiful face, and shook my head, refusing. No. In a moment of clarity, I realized this was the part where childhood friends lose to someone new. Helen, who stays away from men but me, would find her true love. I'd been by her side for a decade, but if I didn't step back now, I'd die in some tragic accident. The morning light filled the room. The sheets were in disarray, and a lingering air of intimacy hung there. My head throbbed slightly, but there was Helen, already dressed impeccably. Her elegant black suit highlighted her usual aloofness and authority, as if the passionate woman from last night was nothing but a dream. Then she spoke, and it was like déjà vu. "Jackson, I'm getting engaged." Her next words, too, were exactly as they had been in my dream. "Don't worry, it's just to appease my family. I won't marry Grant." Placing a document in front of me, she spoke in her usual commanding tone. "This is the assistant renewal contract. Take a look." I clutched the sheet and slowly reached out. The contract terms were a blur. The dream had been so vivid, showing me this was a novel's world where Helen played the decisive heroine. I thought I was her leading man. For 10 years, Helen hadn't had any other man close. We traveled for work, wandered city streets, and spent every holiday together. A year ago, Helen asked me to move in. I left traces of myself in her penthouse, tidying her messy bookshelf and trading in fresh lilies. On lazy afternoons, we'd curl up on the recliner, sip hot tea, and flip through financial books. When free, I'd make her favorite dumplings, and she'd cheekily steal half from my plate. But sadly, this story was about how childhood bonds lose to newcomers. When Grant appeared, things started going south. I saw Helen's eyes flicker, something new I've never seen. "What's wrong?" Her eyes looked at me, concerned. I swallowed, kept calm, and said, "I won't sign to avoid any misunderstandings with Grant." She frowned slightly, her tone assertive. "Jackson, you're 26. Stop this. You'll always hold the most important spot." In her Maybach, Helen was as composed as ever. Her side profile was cold and beautiful as she drove. My mind drifted back to the dream. We pulled into the company's parking lot, and Helen gracefully stepped out, heading towards the elevator. I followed, as always. An excited young man ran over. "Hello, Helen. I'm Grant. Ms. White sent me to be your assistant and get acquainted." His smile was playful and charming. Helen's usually stern gaze softened when it met his. "Yeah, I'll have Jackson take care of that," she said, and to my shock, a never-before-seen softness appeared on her face. Grant turned to me, grinning. "You're the famous WH Group's chief assistant, Jackson? I hear you're quite accomplished, speaking 4 languages, and you've been in big negotiations with Helen. We went to the same university," Grant continued, "worked on projects together, and I'm back at the Whites, joining Helen in the grind." Grant asked me a stream of questions, each one testing the waters about me and Helen. "A guy like you, around such a remarkable woman, doesn't worry about making a girlfriend jealous?" I smiled, meeting his gaze calmly. He was lively, bold. It didn't take long for everyone to know he was the marriage candidate Ms. White chosen for her granddaughter. Feeling a pang in my stomach, I splashed cold water on my face in the bathroom. When I came out, Grant adjusted his collar, sneering. "Dad says some men try to cheat their way to the top, screwing around for profit." Before leaving, he slammed into me, and with that, a full storyline appeared. Helen was pregnant. I thought our years and the child would hold us together. Ms. White didn't approve, pushing Helen to abort to avoid tarnishing her family's name. "Jackson," she'd said, "knowing I grew up with my grandma and had always wanted a family of my own, we'll have kids." I planned to fight for custody, become a single dad, but Helen had a tragic accident, and both the child and her ability to have children were gone. She told me matter-of-factly, "Jackson, I can't marry someone who'll drag me down, and besides, I can't have kids anymore. But I'll keep you by my side forever." She married Grant in the city's biggest wedding while I was kidnapped by the Whites competition. I called Helen's phone over and over, no answer. I died at the seaside warehouse, my body sealed into a concrete pillar, and vanished. Dragging myself to the president's office, I told Helen weakly, "I'm not feeling well. I'd like to see a doctor." She massaged her temples, her voice cold. "Forget it. Grant wants to learn more about the assistant's work today, so you stay with him. Also, he wants to drink that trendy milk tea from North City, so go get it." "Helen, you're the best." Grant affectionately wrapped his arm around Helen's shoulders. In just half a day, their body language had become so close. He looked at me with a hint of arrogance in his eyes. As the CEO's personal assistant, I haven't had to run errands myself in ages. Breaking the rules is the beginning of favoritism. I clenched the corner of my shirt and said grimly, "Helen, if I remember correctly, the renewal contract ends in 7 days. After joining WH Group for 5 years, my overtime must be at least worth a month's vacation. I've been swamped with this merger case for 3 months. I'm really exhausted and want to leave early." I blurted it all out. Helen gave me a steely look. "With eyes like that on you, you'd feel as low as the dirt." The first time we locked eyes, I fell for it. But how could someone who felt the spark at first glance be satisfied just being friends? Helen's tone was colder. "Jackson, the company has invested a lot in training you. With us being short-staffed, I won't allow you to resign." I forced a smile. Once, I went to the Northeast with Helen to seek investment, only to hit a dead end in the freezing wilderness. In the bone-chilling wind, the two of us huddled together beside a sheltered snow nook. Her face was close to mine, her voice hoarse and frosty, yet full of resolve. "Jackson, once I hold the reins, I promise to give you the best of everything." But now, her words came out with the usual authority, mixed with concern for the company's interests. People change. Glass is fragile. I once thought that if I were chosen firmly by Helen, no matter the difficulty, I'd fearlessly take on anything. Now, I want no more entanglements with her. I ended up going to the hospital. The doctor said my acute gastroenteritis was due to stress. When leaving, the doctor told me to get some good rest. The phone rang. It was Helen. She asked how I was feeling. As I was about to reply, Grant's ostentatious voice came through. "Helen, weren't you taking me to eat at Yazoo Courtyard?" My strength instantly drained away. That's a hidden club in the heart of the bustling city. They had a dish of braised spring bamboo shoots, which was Helen's late mother's favorite. She said she'd only take me there. Cocking his head playfully, the young man mumbled something. Helen imitated a clumsy attempt at gentleness to soothe him. The call was abruptly disconnected. They've known each other less than a day, yet they're already hitting it off. Seems like romance overrules reason, feelings over principles. I lifted a hand and felt tears streaming down my face. Leaving the hospital, I noticed someone causing trouble. A burly woman wielded a sharp knife, aiming at a tall woman in a white coat instructing a patient on precautions. Upon seeing that striking, exquisite face, I recalled a scene from a dream. I didn't hesitate to rush forward. I forcefully pushed the woman aside, and my arm got slashed. The crowd cried out and swiftly subdued her. Nancy narrowly escaped. She's an acclaimed international top-tier surgeon who didn't follow her family's plans to inherit the business, having just returned from abroad. She's also Helen's best friend. In the dream, Nancy had her wrist slashed, and she couldn't hold a scalpel again. My grandmother would be diagnosed with a rare disease a month later. Without treatment, she would quickly pass away. I wanted to protect Helen's unborn child, also not wanting to helplessly watch my only family slip away. I met Nancy a few times when Helen took me abroad, considered acquaintances. Nancy personally bandaged me. "Jackson, I don't know how to thank you. I'll tell Helen and get you a nice gift." No need to inform Helen. I saved you, not for her. Nancy looked at me in surprise. Her expression seemed skeptical. Over the years, I've done a lot for Helen, negotiating over a drink, tackling difficult clients, mingling in high society circles. I regularly sent carefully chosen gifts to her friends. Nancy was no exception. Thinking of my grandmother's illness, I earnestly asked, "Nancy, could you promise me one thing?" I wanted to go back to Helen's penthouse to pack up my things. Fingerprint verification failed. As I hesitated, the door opened. Grant's handsome face popped out. "Jackson, what brings you here?" I was about to speak when Helen walked out. "Is there an important document I need to sign so late?" Grant chuckled. "Jackson's so dedicated. Said he felt unwell and wanted to resign this afternoon. Yet here he is at the boss's house at night. His words accused me of being untrustworthy." Helen apparently didn't catch the insinuation, affectionately touched his face. I held back my bitterness, striving for a calm tone. "Yesterday I accidentally left some ID." Grant showed an "I knew it" face, playfully pinched Helen's waist. "I told you I could never tolerate this. In the future, when we marry, you must promise me you'll replace your assistant with a female one." Awkwardly, I entered the house. Looking around, the cups and pillows I once purchased were all gone. I took my passport and ID. Before leaving, Helen stood there in her sharp suit, uncuffed her sleeves and leaned against the door. "Grant's still young. I'm concerned he might complain to the elders and cause you trouble." I detected the undertone in her voice. "Got it." I booked a ticket back to my hometown. The countryside was peaceful at dusk. My grandmother was sitting in an old wicker chair in the yard, with a basket piled with freshly dug green wild herbs. The moment she saw me, she quickly stood up. "Jackson, you're finally back?" Disregarding the herbs on the ground, she pulled me into a tight hug. My eyes watered, filled with guilt. I hadn't been back in 2 years, and she looked thinner, her back even more hunched. She gripped my hand firmly, as if afraid I'd disappear if she let go. I'd lost my parents at a young age. My grandma single-handedly raised me. She walked into the kitchen, slowly started a fire to cook, and asked, "Jackson, worn out from being outside? Granny's gonna make you your favorite shepherd's purse dumplings." Memories rushed back. Helen showed up when I was 16. Her dad, a rich kid from a prestigious family, fell for a poor girl, and Ms. White was against it. After getting pregnant, Helen's mom ran away in secret. Helen's dad followed the family's plan, married another woman, and never had kids. At some point, that woman found out about Helen and her mom and tried to get rid of them. When Helen's mom brought her back to where she grew up, she wasn't all there mentally. Helen moved in next door. Even wearing old skirts, she couldn't hide how beautiful she was. Granny, being the kind soul she is, saw Helen's mom lost in her own world, making food that turned to mush, and invited her over for dumplings. Each dumpling wrapper flew out perfectly, filled with the freshest spring shepherd's purse and egg filling, juicy and delicious. Helen ate half a pot. Granny, worried she'd overeat, had me take her for a walk around town. Since then, Helen and her mom became regulars at our house. When Helen's mom wasn't acting out, she'd give Granny money, food, and hold my hand, asking me to chat more with Helen. She was so quiet, wearing dark, outdated clothes, her hair flowing in the breeze. It was just my voice along the way. We both got into the same college. That year, Helen's mom passed, leaving me the only one by her side. In our senior year, a Rolls-Royce showed up on campus. Helen's dad finally found out his wife had been hurting Helen and her mom. While arguing on the road, they got into a crash and both died. As the sole white heir, Ms. White put Helen in charge of the company. This girl, who drifted from place to place, didn't waste the chance. But when she got into WH Group, it was a mess. I thought Ms. White, who cared a lot about family ties, would have chosen a distant relative if she wasn't desperate. She wouldn't have given the family business to a child from an unknown background. Helen worked hard. With a great business sense, she got things under control in just 2 years. It wasn't easy, and I stood by her through it all. After she made a name for herself, many men, willing or not, approached Helen. She kept her distance from everything around her. I thought I was different. I chuckled at myself. No late-night emails from crossing time zones, no sudden flights to book, no alarms set to a specific time. I finally got a solid night's sleep. Granny refried last night's leftover dumplings. Crispy golden skins with tender shepherd's purse filling. So good you'd think your eyebrows fell out. She looked at my sharp chin and sighed. Who says it's bitter? It's as sweet as shepherd's purse. I know you like Helen, but you've seen how her mom's life turned out. Granny was a language teacher all her life. She wanted to remind me that some paths just don't cross. But back then, I felt Helen treated me well. She gave me her secondary card, had a private jet ready at all times, gifted me watches on holidays, and never forgot to get me new clothes each season. Being by her side was more important than any official status. So, I turned down every other suitor. I was willing to stay without a title to be with Helen. Thinking back, she never even confessed her love for me. The phone rang. It was Helen. Why didn't you come to the office? I've told you I want to quit. Jackson, I didn't agree to that. When I stayed silent, she softened her tone. You're tired, I'll give you a week off. Renew the contract when you come back in 7 days. This Ms. White's rule. Helen never made an exception for me. I know she's determined to get what she wants, so I just said, we'll see. Then I hung up and turned off the phone. I've never ignored Helen's calls before. She's like a goddess from another world. Impossible to resist. This was our fate. But now I had to cut the ties holding us together. I wanted to take Granny to the city for a checkup. She gets carsick and seasick, dreading long trips. I called Nancy. Nancy was patient, doing a video consultation, urging me to get Granny to the hospital soon. Granny gently tapped my hand. This old ailment of mine flares up when I leave home. Let's not waste money in a city we don't know. I was frantic. I've got money. No matter what the illness, I'll get you cured. Unexpectedly, Nancy arranged for a helicopter. In just half a day, we reached the city, 1,000 kilometers away. Everything was set up for the checkup. I thanked her repeatedly. But Nancy looked at me silently, her eyes unreadable. I didn't think much of it, quickly asking, "What's Grandma's condition?" "It's not looking good. This rare disease is hard to treat." My legs turned to jelly. I felt the world spinning around me. Nancy patted my shoulder, comforting me. "I'll do everything I can. Spend as much time as you can with her these days." I took a deep breath, forcing a smile. I hired a caregiver and returned to the small place I'd bought. A familiar figure stood at the door. Helen looked at me, eyes heavy. "What's going on? You don't answer your phone or messages." I was surprised. Nancy and Helen were close, yet she didn't tell her about Granny's situation. "I'm not going back. Didn't you clear everything out from home?" "Jackson, I told you, Grant is just childish and the heir of the Ito family. Our families have a big deal to work on, I just didn't want him to get the wrong idea. I'll say it again, no matter the status, you are the only one in my heart." The woman in front of me was like a resolute fir in the snow. She was proud and icy. I used to think I understood Helen. When she was young, her father's first wife wouldn't leave her alone, forcing her to live a life of turmoil. She learned to weigh pros and cons. I accepted her dark and calculating nature. I gave her my genuine heart. But she still tried to hold me back after things changed, not letting me leave. "Helen, you should know I've liked you. For a whole 10 years. Not just 10 months or 10 days. So isn't everything I can give you enough?" With a calm voice, I asked, "Do you think someone who likes you this much can watch you marry another man?" Helen left. Her pride wouldn't let her bow down. I stayed at the hospital. Nancy quickly arranged surgery for Grandma. Everything went well thanks to timely treatment. With gratitude, I brought a gift to Nancy's office. It was a minimalistic space, dimly lit. Nancy's long fingers touched a surgical knife, gently and affectionately, as if it were her closest companion. I was startled. "Nancy, why don't you turn on the light?" She looked at me with deep eyes and suddenly asked, "Jackson, do you believe in reincarnation?" My heart skipped. I opened my mouth instinctively, but nothing came out. Nancy seemed trapped in memories, her voice carrying a sense of weariness. In the last life, those troublemakers severed my wrists. My life and career were destroyed. But in this life, her tone softened, her gaze toward me full of gratitude. "Your appearance changed my destiny entirely." In Nancy's mournful yet steady voice, I heard a story I couldn't learn in dreams. Though born into wealth, Nancy wasn't happy. Her mom purposely left her sick dad locked in a basement when taking her out. A fire broke out, killing Nancy's father. In less than half a month, her mom moved in a lover and his kid. Nancy felt guilty, thinking if her dad hadn't been sick, maybe her childhood would have been better. She wanted to become a doctor and use her life to heal her childhood. However, after her wrist was ruined, she returned to her original despair, completely becoming a family outcast. Even her best friend, Helen, drifted apart after seeing Nancy unable to operate on Grant's father. Nancy fell into severe depression. Helen watched as Nancy's mom forced her from a skyscraper. Coming back, I found my wrists were fine. You changed my life. So, do you want to change yours? She's reborn. She must have seen my tragic end in my last life. With 2 lives experiences and my revealed plot, Nancy understood her father's death was suspicious. Her father had funded her mother's venture. In the end, he died under mysterious circumstances. Her mother claimed he went crazy and accidentally caused a fire. After Nancy and her father died, the lover's son inherited everything, and Nancy's mom became a prominent figure. Greedy for profit, during Helen and Grant's grand wedding, Nancy's mom's family brought lavish gifts to a table next door. My finger cut a blood trace on my palm. I anticipated Helen's cold indifference, but didn't expect her to abandon even a decade-long friendship. Covering my inner grief, I asked Nancy my thoughts. You know business, having been close to Helen. She hoped I'd seize her mother's company, splitting profits with me. I agreed. Expertise matters. Nancy devoted herself to medicine without much time for business. I handled many deals while working with Helen. Nancy got a small company from her mom. Her mom initially disagreed, but I argued persuasively. Who can guarantee they'll never fall ill? She understood. With a famous international doctor-daughter, business would thrive. Before taking over the Millers, I planned to cut ties with Helen. I had to act decisively. Inviting Helen for a talk, I asked whether she planned to abort our child to marry into the Ito family. She admitted with a cold demeanor as if discussing something impersonal. Jackson, this child can't stay. It'll ruin my plans. My heart shattered. Some pain shouldn't be borne alone. Watching her walk away indifferently, I texted her. Would someone who breaks a sincere heart go to hell? Nancy quickly replied, yes. She seemed to sense my situation, adding, stop calling me Nancy, call me Nancy. I said, then call me Jackson, not Jackson. Sharing secrets speeds up friendship. At a business event, we appeared arm in arm. Many approached Nancy, eager to connect. Death is unavoidable for everyone who wouldn't want to know someone skilled in medicine. Helen and Grant showed up too. Comparing my calmness, Grant radiated like the sun. Yet the staff complained why Grant couldn't just enjoy being a rich boy instead of hovering. Grant never worked, spoiled at home. He became a habitual mistake maker who never learned. He added a ton of sugar to his coffee. Helen, who doesn't like sweets, could only smile indulgently when she drank it. He messed up the data on an important document, making the client unhappy, but shifted the blame onto his colleagues in the assistant department. He could do nothing and still take credit for others' work. Yet, he wants Helen to think highly of him, so he does everything himself. Besides being charming and handsome, he's pretty useless. But his main character vibe is strong. Helen just thinks he's a big kid at heart, and making mistakes is no big deal. I think it's ridiculous. Last time, I mistakenly identified the client's companion as their spouse instead of their mistress, creating a bit of a mess. Helen cited company policy for keeping work and personal matters separate and docked me half a month's pay. Love and favoritism are so obvious. Coming out of the restroom, Grant stopped me, raising his expensive watch with a smug smile. Jackson, I'm getting engaged to Helen soon. I heard you're great at your job, so you'll be handling our wedding. His attitude was condescending. I coldly refused. Grant lowered his voice. We're both guys. Don't think I don't know what's on your mind. The first time I went to Helen's apartment, I saw your underwear there. Gross. Gross? Don't tell me you leave the house but naked? He was caught off guard, furious with embarrassment. But the first time I went to her place, she changed the lock code to my birthday. She even calls me Grant, that's what only family calls me. So what? Jackson, you understand me? I'm not allowing you near Helen anymore. I just chuckled. Relax. I'm not going back to the company, nor am I visiting her home again. My voice wasn't loud, but it was just loud enough for Helen to hear nearby. She stopped me and gently touched my tired face. Jackson, you've lost weight. Haven't been taking care of yourself? Instinctively, I dodged. Helen chuckled softly. We've known each other so long, and this is the first time I've seen you upset for so long. I smirked. You said it yourself, Helen. You always said you hate rash people, yet you treasure one. I've already mentioned it. Marrying into the Ito family is for winning the Southtown project. Is marriage just a bargaining chip to you? Why not? The kingdom we build will be ours. Is Helen implying she wants me to be a secret husband or a covert lover? Jackson, you've changed. You never cared about status before. What guy wouldn't want it? But because I loved her, I was willing to wait. But compared to my life, the value of love didn't seem that important anymore. Helen was pretty cunning. She knew Ben from the assistant department and I got along well. And yet, let Grant sabotage him. Jackson, if you're not coming back, I have no choice but to let others take the fall for you. Does she have to push so hard? I just missed you. At that moment, I realized my feelings for her had given her too much of a filter. I used to think her harshness was from her broken past. But now I see it's her true nature. The assistant Ben was handpicked by me. Hardworking and efficient. If Helen and Grant undervalue him, they better not blame me for stealing talent. The company I got from Nancy's mom was a mess, and I needed my own people. Ben was thrilled. Following you, boss, means good meals without the stress. Ben would complain about Grant's spoiled attitude and the CEO's indulgent spoiling. The company was a mess, but Helen blamed it on us. Before, I never made Helen worry. From billion-dollar deals to a single office screw, I handled everything. My heart was already tired. Feeling sorry for a woman is indeed the start of misfortune. As I left with Helen's top assistant, could she and the main lead really have a perfect ending? Seeing Helen again, at the Southtown Project bid conference. Nancy accompanied me, but didn't even greet her. A rift between best friends. Nancy saw through Helen's cold and ruthless behavior. And Helen? Couldn't care less. Grant wore the star necklace Helen once promised to give me, looking smug. I didn't care and naturally took the thermal mug Nancy handed me. Inside was medicine for my stomach. She's a great doctor. My grandmother's hospital stay was well taken care of by her, and she'd praise Nancy constantly. If Helen cared, she wouldn't have ignored my grandmother's illness, her surgery, or her recovery. Helen cornered me in the hallway. Jackson, you're willing to give this project plan to the Millers as an offering. The space felt suffocating. Even the air was heavy. I looked at her calmly. Helen, I own 50% of this company. I have every reason to fight for it. Jackson, stop it. Nancy only wants to use you as a pawn against her mom. She could never be sincere with you. I don't care, as long as she gives me what I need. Following Helen, I could only ever be an assistant, offering jobs to vice presidents and directors to win people over. To show Ms. White I wasn't aiming for the top, whether it's being a husband or the first in command visibly by her side. I remember my aching spine at night from too much work, the long work memos in my notes, and my relationship with Helen, forever in the shadows. I took a deep breath. Helen, you build walls so high but hope someone brave enough climbs over to love you. You only love the selfless version of me. She paused, with a hint of helplessness in her voice. Jackson, I thought you didn't care before, but if you'd asked, I'd have given anything to you. That's not it. If you have to ask, it's pity, it's charity, but not true love. I successfully secured the Southtown project. Couldn't have done it without Nancy's help. She performed surgery on a top-notch investor and gained his favor and support. Nancy's mom was pretty impressed. She wanted to use her eldest daughter to gather more resources. Nancy agreed on the surface, but she was secretly following my plan and made plenty of extra demands. With her second chance and my knowledge of the plot, I expanded the company in no time. We both know, if this world revolves around the male and female leads, We have to strip their halos to give NPCs a chance to breathe. Nancy asked me, "You've had feelings for Helen for years. Can you really let go?" I looked up at her probing eyes and said slowly, "No one waits around forever. Lately, Grant has been trying to trip me up. He spread rumors in the high society claiming I was sleeping with different women to secure deals. The stories seemed detailed, some even had photos. One photo was from a time when Helen's company was in crisis. A major client of hers asked me to accompany them up north for business talks, and we spent 3 days and 2 nights alone." I chuckled softly. In her eyes, I might have been tainted all along. Otherwise, how could Grant know about something so private? Helen is still Helen. She thought I latched onto Nancy, and she'd rather ruin my reputation to sever ties between us. Her love was too shallow, too cheap. Don't trust someone you doubt. I just realized it too late. Can't blame others. Nancy removed her coat and draped it over me. "I believe in you," she said. Helen accompanied Grant to the hospital for a checkup. When our eyes met, Helen turned her face away, looking a bit uneasy. Upon seeing Nancy, Grant immediately rushed over. "Nancy, my dad's sick. The dean says your skills are among the world's best. Keep your schedule open so you can focus on my dad's surgery." He assumed Nancy would agree because of Helen's connections. "Sorry, my schedule is fully booked for the year," Nancy replied calmly, then turned to do her rounds. Grant was furious and chased after her. I ignored her escape, his chase. I was about to pack up some wontons for Grandma when someone pulled me aside. "Jackson, why didn't you tell me Grandma was sick? Grandma's been in the hospital for half a year. If you cared at all, you wouldn't be clueless." Helen, dressed in a handmade black suit dress, had creases on her collar, no longer perfect like before. Honestly, her face once deeply attracted me. Even Grandma, wise to people, had said Helen's nature might let me down. I was like a moth to a flame. Helen smirked coldly. "Just because Nancy saved Grandma, you'd devote yourself to her and oppose me?" Her eyes instantly turned murderous. I looked at Helen, disappointment in my eyes. "In the hardest times, it was Grandma who paid your tuition and cared for your mom in the hospital. Many people in this world have shown her kindness. Unfortunately, some only remember the bad." I stopped talking. Silence wasn't the absence of emotion, it was feeling there was no point in continuing. Being by Helen's side, I wasn't without growth. The drinks I've had, the tables I've negotiated, the late-night plans I've made. Even the clients I've dealt with have become my resources. Of course, I can't forget how easily enemies shoot themselves in the foot. Helen's assistant lost some capable staff. Grant is a jealous guy. To him, every tall and handsome young male employee was a rival. In the company, Helen always held the reins. I oversaw personnel. But this time, a rich kid with no work experience started meddling with company policy. It marked the beginning of the downfall. Grant accidentally leaked bidding information, causing a major project loss. Helen had him draft a contract, and a decimal error caused huge losses. Plus, Helen was too busy smoothing things over, clinking glasses with business moguls. In Grant's eyes, his goddess was being coveted. I seized the opportunity and snatched WH Group's territory, sharing the good news with Ms. White. She was livid. I felt like I avenged the time in my dream when she let kidnappers take me away for ransom. After all, if WH Group hadn't angered someone, I wouldn't have become a scapegoat. The male and female lead's halo seems to be fading. When Helen found me, her makeup was smudged, and she hadn't changed her suit dress in 2 days. Not typical for a cleanliness-obsessed leading lady. "Jackson, will you come back to me? Grant isn't a suitable husband. I've had the family cancel the engagement with the Ito family. But am I some trash recycling martyr? Helen, ever since our unborn child was gone, it's been clear there's no going back." I reminded her she personally said she wanted to terminate the pregnancy. She was shocked. "Jackson, it was just an embryo. How dare you use that against me? Don't be ridiculous. You were set to get engaged to the Ito family. Ms. White would never let that child exist." Helen was speechless. I was stating the truth. As a power-seeking decision-maker, She couldn't allow unstable factors. Like in the dream, she wouldn't let anyone stand in her way to the top. Not even her unborn child. Helen, from the moment you left me, I realized I'd be better off without you. But Jackson, without you, my life is miserable. Her stomach is weak, and Grant likes spicy food. Accommodating his tastes led to stomach cancer. She said, I really miss the days when you took care of everything for me. Helen's beautiful face, for once, showed regret, remorse, and discontent. But to me, it no longer mattered. Helen's career faced a downfall. Her health was failing. Grant seemed truly in love with her, wanting to mend their relationship despite family opposition. But with Grant's father falling ill, he was too preoccupied. Nancy never agreed to operate on him. Not long after, Grant's father passed away. Grant's mother, who built the family's wealth, brought the illegitimate child into the house. I sighed softly. No wonder the Ito family raised their son to be lazy and clueless. If Grant wasn't the main character, he would have been toast by now. He wasn't happy and stormed off to the Whites to make a scene. Ms. White was already bedridden. She was furious when she learned he ruined several big projects for the Whites. When the troublemaker showed up at her door, she came out in her wheelchair to scold him. No one knows what exactly went down between them. Grant lost control and pushed the old lady down from the second floor. She died instantly. The police came and took him in for questioning. After the funeral, Helen came to find me. Jackson, I had a really long dream. For the sake of family ties, I gave up on you and the kid, which led to your tragic death. The sudden dream made everything clear to her. If I hadn't met Grant, could I have ended up with you? No way. For the past 10 years, she had plenty of chances to speak up. But she knew deep down, her husband could maximize her value. Jackson, you have every right to hate me, but I still love you. Can you give me a chance to make it up to you? Helen, 10 years of devotion, and I never even got a title. Loving someone like you just cheapens everything. People often can't see the situation clearly when they're in the middle of it. It was like a splash of cold water woke her up. I'm sorry. I was just so focused on climbing up, I ignored you. Forget it. The reason you can't let go is that I appeared in your darkest times and won your heart with sincerity. But you know what? Even the deepest love will grow weak and eventually run out. Helen died by suicide. She lay in the bathtub with a deep cut on her wrist. Before she left, she sent me a message to apologize and left me her remaining assets. I turned around and donated them. After taking over WH Group, I had the power to confront Nancy's mother, so I pushed forward. Nancy was thrilled and handed over the management rights to me. We got married in due course and had a set of twins. She's still a workaholic, wielding her scalpel and saving patients all over the world. I'm also super busy, but I always make time every day to play with our adorable kids. Grandma holds 2 little toys in her hands, lovingly helping us take care of the children. Jackson, not pinning everything on one tree has brought you great fortune. Once I loved myself above all else, the wheels of destiny started turning. And with that, I defied fate.